In 2024, 5 receivers were taken in the first round: Malik Nabers, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr., and Xavier Worthy. In their rookie year, 2 of them produced 1,000-yard seasons. The last time an NFL draft didn't produce at least one receiver with an 1,000-yard rookie season, 2018. I've been thinking about first-round hit rates recently, and this tweet from Benjamin Solak piqued my interest. He says, "Bad wide receiver draft classes don't exist anymore." That can't be true, right? Positions have bad drafts all the time. The 2022 QB class was pretty bad with Kenny Pickett. Last year was a whatever edge class. 2019 was a pretty bad year to need a corner. It's just kind of how odds work. Every few years, a position is going to put up a stinker. But then I got to digging. No. He's right. They don't exist. I already mentioned the 2024 class, but the 23 class had JSN, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers. 22 was the Garrett London and Olave draft. 21, we got Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. And in 2020, we got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, and probably the best of them all in Justin Jefferson. Sure, you have your fair share of busts mixed in. Quentin Johnston was a pretty bad pick, although he's had his moments recently. Jalen Reagor was a pretty bad stinker. But as a whole, the NFL draft has produced multiple stud receivers every year. Like I said, the last time an NFL draft didn't produce at least one 1,000-yard receiver in their rookie year was 2018, the DJ Moore class. The last time an NFL draft didn't produce at least 3 1,000-yard receivers, that is a receiver that has had at least one 1,000-yard receiving season in their career, was 2015. That was 10 years ago. Since then, every single draft class has produced at least 3 stud receivers. But why? Why out of all of the positions is this the one that seems to translate the most? Well, there's a few reasons. 3 to be exact. The first and most fun to think about is scheming in the NFL. The receiver matters more than ever now, and teams are abandoning their traditional view of wide receiver skill sets and building offenses around the players that they have. Think about your traditional offensive formation in the NFL. You've got your 5 linemen, quarterback, running back, fullback, tight end on the side with the Z, and the X all by his lonesome over there. Each of these positions had relative height and weight requirements if you wanted to play them in the NFL for a long time. And a lot of them, all of them, had specific skill sets you had to master if you wanted to play them. Your traditional X receiver has to be a big body, twitchy guy with great hands. These are your Randy Mosses, your Terrell Owens. But here's the thing. Dudes that are 6'4", 225, move like they're 5'9", 180, and have glue for hands, those don't grow on trees. And so teams are running this style of offense with players that don't fit the scheme at all. I'm thinking of like the early 2000s Cowboys with the corpse of Joey Galloway and Terry Glenn, 2 5'11" dudes cosplaying as X-receivers. A couple of things have happened since then. One, teams stopped running offenses like it was 1964. We're embracing 3 wide receiver threats, abandoning fullbacks and extra tight ends. In 2023, teams ran 11 personnel, that is 1 running back, 1 tight end, a record 68% of the time. In 2010, that figure was 39%, and in 2008, 34%. Because of that, obviously, you've seen a meteoric rise in the passing game. Guys are just getting more yards in general because teams are passing the ball more. In 2010, 17 receivers had 1,000-yard receiving season. Fast forward to 2024, where 25 receivers met that mark. More opportunities for wide receivers to shine, less opportunities for them to bust. But it's a little more nuanced than just more opportunities. Teams have learned how to scheme players open, at an alarming rate, to be honest. The Shanahan and McVay tree has swarmed the NFL, a scheme that largely completely abandons the traditional idea of an X receiver and embraces scheme to get its players open. Motion rates have skyrocketed over the last decade, with multiple teams motioning on north of 70% of plays in 2024. And teams aren't just moving guys to move guys, they're moving players with a purpose. A team like Buffalo does this exceptionally well, and that's how they're able to get good production out of guys like Khalil Shakir. Shakir is 6'1", 190. He absolutely would have been looked at by practically every NFL team just 10 years ago. But now, he is the most productive receiver on an AFC championship contender, despite not filling that traditional X build. Speaking of that traditional X role, it's dead. Teams are no longer playing a style of offense that says, just go beat the guy across from you, and more receivers from all walks of life are thriving because of it. The second to last guy to win the Triple Crown at receiver, Cooper Kupp, operated out of the slot 65% of the time that season. 10 years ago, the slot receiver was just some little gadget guy that came in every few plays. Nowadays, oftentimes it's your best receiver and a bona fide stud. CeeDee Lamb, one of the best receivers in the league, caught 135 passes for over 1,700 yards in 2023, while taking 57% of his snaps out of the slot. The Bills' leading receiver, like I mentioned this season, Khalil Shakir, operated out of the slot 73% of the time. Even your traditional outside winners are taking more snaps out of the slot than ever. We're talking north of 30% for guys like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. For reference, over his career, Randy Moss took about 16% of his snaps out of the slot. Jamar Chase last year, who just won the Triple Crown, operated out of the slot 34% of the time, doubling Randy Moss's mark. There's no more leaving guys on an island. There's no longer a need to be an alien route runner. Teams are drafting guys with good skill sets and putting them in positions to succeed. Think the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill and the Rams with Puka Nacua. Two guys that 20 years ago probably wouldn't have even cracked an NFL roster. You don't have to be Randy Moss to succeed at receiver at an elite rate anymore. Just have good hands, be a good athlete, and a good team is going to find a way to get you the goddamn ball. I have a question to help us answer our question. When was the last time the NFL had a seriously bad draft class? Yes, there's been some bad picks. Emmanuel Forbes over Gonzo comes to mind. Even teams have had some stinkers. The Jags in 2020 was pretty bad. But when was the last time the NFL draft as a whole was just whatever? The past few draft classes have been loaded in general, and teams are hitting on their non-quarterback first-round picks more than ever. Just scrolling through them, not only have the majority of first-round picks become decent to above-average NFL players, they're loaded with talent on the back end. I would say the last time the NFL had a seriously bad draft class was 2016, when we only got a few starters in the first round, the best quarterback in the first round taking over Jared Goff, and even on the back end, you did have some good players like Derrick Henry, Dak Prescott, but as a whole, just not very good. That was 11 years ago. Teams are just getting better at drafting in general, not just at receiver. Teams are spending so much money on scouting departments, college film has been more accessible than ever, and teams are exhausting so many resources into making sure they nail the NFL draft, and it's paid dividends. 20 years ago, what are the odds a team would have taken Josh Allen not only in the first round, but allowed him to be the type of quarterback he is? Yes, we're working with hypotheticals here, but how free would offensive coordinators have been in 2010 with a guy with that kind of skill set? How possible is it that a team would have taken Josh Allen in the 5th round and forced him to be a traditional drop-back Manning type passer? I'd say a lot higher than it should be. Same thing goes for receiver. How often 10-15 years ago would a team have taken a guy like CeeDee Lamb in the first round, forced him to beat Patrick Surtain, Darrelle Revis 90% of the game, and stunted his development? And on the flip side of that, what if a guy like Darius Hayward-Bay was taken today? Would teams have moved him around, played him in the slot a little more, put him in positions to succeed, rather than lining him up against the opposing team's best corner and forcing him to win every rep? Would he have a better career? Who knows? You mix the fact that teams are getting better at drafting with the fact that teams are also getting better at developing. It's a perfect storm for not just receivers, but players in general to be better. And for the final, and possibly the most important reason, it is damn cool to be a receiver.
There's 3 things in life that's certain: death, taxes, and 85 will always be open.
In the mid to late 2010s, we saw an explosion in the prominence of the wide receiver in popular culture. They no longer played second fiddle to the running backs and were often the focal point of their offenses. The league was swarmed with players like Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco, and Keyshawn Johnson. Not only were these players fun to watch, but they were by far the coolest people on the field. During this era, you see the rise of the diva receiver, the get me the damn ball and get out of the way type of guy. The arrogance, the style, the highlights. In that time, you either hated it or you loved it. And for a lot of kids growing up, you loved it. You have practically an entire generation that grew up watching Randy Moss and Dez Bryant. Yeah, no shit they wanted to be receivers. Youth teams' best players no longer want to play running back if they can't be a quarterback. They want to be wide receivers. Your best receivers are twitchy, fast guys, and so the majority of the time, coaches are putting their best athletes there. If you have quick feet, you've got good hands, odds are you're going to be a receiver. So high school and college teams are turning a lot of their best athletes into receivers now. Yeah, no shit, a lot of them are going to pan out. I mean, how long ago would a guy like Luther Burden in this upcoming draft, who's 5'11", 205, been slotted in at running back growing up? And even if he wasn't, how possible is it that a college program would have moved him there once he enrolled? The running back position doesn't matter anymore. And no, I don't mean that in a literal sense. The Eagles just won a Super Bowl paying Saquon Barkley. Obviously, they are still important roles in an offense. It's just not as cool as it used to be. Think of the Drake lyric from Child's Play, I think. My city loved me like a college running back. That doesn't exist anymore. My city loved me like a college wide receiver is a better comparison. Wide receivers are cool. They make the touchdown grabs. They make the highlight plays. They get the most press. Outside of quarterback, your wide receiver is probably your second biggest star on your NFL team. People like stars. Kids like stars. Kids want to be stars. And so kids want to be receivers. And not only are your best athletes becoming receivers, more and more players are becoming receivers in general. In 2024, 35 receivers were taken in the NFL draft. Compare that to 2011 when just 28 were taken. I know what you're thinking. 7 players, that's not a big jump. That's 7 more opportunities to churn out a good player. That's 7 more opportunities for guys like Puka Nacua or even Jordan Whittington down the board, who showed flashes himself. Teams are taking so many more shots at wide receivers, it's no wonder draft classes produce multiple stars at the position. They're taking 30 plus shots a draft. You're bound to have a couple of hits. It's not just that your best athletes are becoming receivers that are being taken at the top of the draft. It's that there's so many of them going throughout the draft. For every one Puka Nacua, there's 15 Simi Fehokos. It's not that receiver is any more translatable than other positions, it's that more shots equals more opportunities to churn down value down the board. It also helps that receiver has a very wide range of skill sets. Yeah, your best athletes, your Malik Neighbors are playing the position, but also guys like Hunter Renfrow are turning out decent seasons despite not being exceptional athletically. You don't have to be the best route runner, you don't have to be the strongest, you don't have to be the fastest anymore to succeed at wide receiver in the NFL. And because of that, we're seeing more and more receivers being taken end up translating. And that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy, consider leaving a like and subscribing. If you've been here for a while, I love you. Follow my TikTok and Twitter, linked below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.